Hey guys, what's up? It's Kevin for the win here, and we're back for another edition of Diablo free. Like I said in the last video, we're doing videos Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays now. Today on the channel, we're going to be covering the starter set for Season 22's Demon Hunter class. That is the Gears of Dreadlands armor set. Gears of Dreadlands is a strafe set. As many times on this channel as I've told you before, there's a strategy in Diablo 3 that gives very high placement in the leaderboard. It's called Spin to Win. It was first created by the Whirlwind Barbarian build, which you have seen on the channel before. In particular, the Demon Hunters now have a variant of that particular strategy in which they use strafe to spin around, do massive amounts of damage, and clear greater rifts. Very high greater rifts at very fast clear times. You're looking at anywhere between 3 to 4 minute clear time clears with greater rifts. With this particular set, it's a bit optimized, as you can see here. I'm not going to go over everything in this armor set. For that, you can basically look in the description that's available. I have a link to every armor set. It's a link to Icy Veins, a very great resource for Diablo 3. I'm going to show you pretty much on the screen what I'm using and what abilities are. The best way to explain the set is you're pretty much just going to be strafing around. Whenever you're not strafing around because you've ran out of resources or you run into a Rift Guardian, you want to be using Vengeance with Hungering Arrow. Hungering Arrow, you shoot an arrow, and you're going to be doing a lot of damage based on the way the armor's set up. Primarily thanks to your legendary gems and what you have in your KNOX cube, as you see right here. I'm going to put about 150 vitality right now into my Demon Hunter. Then the rest of this is going to go into our dexterity so we can get an attack boost. This attack boost should help us significantly with these clear times. Now, for the Gears of Dreadlands set, obviously always strive for ancient legendary pieces because those are the only things that you can actually augment with gems. This set is a very good starter set for Season 22. I can't stress how good the set is. It's pretty much the S tier of Season 21. It was the thing that pretty much demolished the leaderboards. The only exception to it was the Legacy of Dreams Grimscythe set. So I'm going to show you real quick what it is. Whenever you strafe, whatever the last ability you used will get automatically cast. So it's usually a very good idea, whoops, not to die like that, but it's usually a very good idea to fire a Hungering Arrow and then pop like a Vengeance and then strafe. And when you do that, when you strafe, you're going to be casting Vengeance. Vengeance allows you to not only attack things faster, but it gives you a little bit of a armor buff. This is kind of important because when you're spinning around things, you're going to be taking damage despite the fact that you're spinning around. This is not primarily the most optimal dungeon layout for this particular build. And for this particular example that I'm showing you here of how to use it, because it's a very long corridor and those particular flamefire things do not really work very well against your strafing. But as you can see right now, this is a Greater Rift 70, and I'm able to clear that many monsters, that many elite packs with ease. We're already halfway in, and I don't think we've even done about 2 to 3 minutes. So this build is a speed build, and it's very powerful. The only drawback, which you're going to see right here, is if you spin a little too much and you don't like get to the end of the stage, you're going to have to fire some Hungering Arrows to be able to get back some of your hatred. Because remember, this is a resource generator build, relying heavily on strafe. Strafe burns through your hatred very, very fast. And unlike the Waste set for the Barbarian, which is the Whirlwind set, where every time you Whirlwind, you're going to be getting back your Fury, this particular set doesn't really have a way to get back your hatred as fast and as quickly and keep it as sustainable as the Whirlwind Barbarian set. So, you know, but between Barbarian and this, are some disadvantages. This is still super fast and the strongest of the Demon Hunters. The only other set that you could possibly use that could clear things about as fast, but not as efficiently, is the Marauder set. And that would be if you're using like sentries and you have everything particularly placed out for that. I will cover the Marauder set because it is not a bad set to use for Demon Hunter. It has been used as the starter set in certain seasons of Diablo pretty often as of recently. However, for Season 22, as I mentioned in the last video, all the new armors for all the classes that were featured within this last year are going to be the Hadred's Gift. So, for Demon Hunter, it was Gears of Dreadlands. For the Crusader, it's the Aegis of Valor set. For the Barbarian, it's a Ren set. I don't have that set because it's just not a very good set to run for Barbarian, so I won't be covering it as of yet until I get the pieces for that, which may take quite a while. For the Wizard, it's the Typhoon set, which uses Frost Hydras to do the major amount of source damage there. For the Witch Doctor, it's the Mundanugu set, which uses Spirit Barrage to do all its damage. Did I forget a class? Let me think here. No, that pretty much covers all of them. So those particular classes, those are what their starter sets are for Season 22. Now, if you're new to Diablo 3, because I know a lot of people that come to my channel are from the Nintendo Switch platform, that's the platform that I play on, and you have not partaken in a seasonal journey, basically the way it works is they give you 4 regular chapters, and then they give you additional 6. The first 4 chapters, when you complete all the objectives in those chapters, will give you a reward. Starting in Chapter 2, you'll get something called a Hadred's Gift. Hadred's Gift will have 2 pieces of your starter set armor for the class that you picked. So for the Demon Hunter, you would get 2 random pieces of the Gears of Dreadlands. Then when you clear Chapter 3, you get 2 more pieces. When you get clear Chapter 4, the reward is the last 2 pieces. You are guaranteed to get a full set with Hadred's Gift of your starter class armor for whatever it is for that season. For those who pick Demon Hunter, you're in luck that you're going to get the S tier class. You probably have, in theory, I would say you guys have actually the best starter armor set for Season 22. This is probably the best head start that you could get out of all of them. Now, that last Greater Rift was a Greater Rift 70. This time around, I'm going to do a Greater Rift 75. The strategy for this armor is not really going to change. I'm only going to do 3 Greater Rifts here because, really, honestly, all you're going to be doing is strafing around. Anytime you run into mobs that you really can't take out, you can stop strafing. And as long as your vengeance is up, you can keep holding down. For me, it's the A button. For you, it's wherever you have your hungering arrow. And you can basically click hungering arrow, and it'll fire at a rapid rate, and it'll get back your hatred, and it also usually will take out whatever mob that you're having a hard time dealing with. Thanks to Bane of the Stricken, which is in your armor set as one of your legendary gems. The other one is Simplicity Strength. And if I'm not mistaken, the last one is Teguk, because Strafe is technically a channeling build, because you're channeling your hatred to be able to do spinning around the map, just clearing out mobs. This is a speed build. It's not very fancy. I make no bones about this. This is not complicated to use at all. This is, of all the starter sets that are being featured in Season 22, this is probably the easiest out of all of them to use. Second to this would probably be Masquerade of the Burning Carnival for the Necromancer. Then I would probably say Mundanugu and Typhoon are kind of tied for 3rd or 4th. The Barbarian is probably the worst set. I'm not too sure what the Monk starter set is. I think it should be Sunwuku, but I'm not 100% sure. If it's not Sunwuku, that's your starter set, you might as well just not play Monk for that season, unless you are going to grind for Sunwuku, because in reality, when it comes to the Monk, if you're not playing Sunwuku, you might as well not be playing the Monk. I hate to say it, but, like, the Ileana armor build in particular is not very good. Exploding Palm is like only good up to about Greater Rift 50, which is about Torment 11, 12. Then it starts struggling, as opposed to Sunwuku, which is based on the legendary of the Monkey King. That will carry you way, way, way high if you're playing the monk. Now, keep in mind, whenever I reference to tier lists, it's not necessarily always because they do a lot of power, although sometimes it's often associated with it. What tier basically means is the amount of people that are using it, and obviously, usually when an armor gets a high amount of usage is because obviously it does things super fast and gets high leaderboard placement. But in theory, you could, if you didn't want to play Gears of Dreadlands for Demon Hunter, go Marauder. You could even go the Shadow route for Demon Hunter, and you could do, as long as you optimize it and you get, you know, high crit ratio in your helm, and you make sure you get it in your bracers, and you make sure you get it in your weapon, and your necklace, and your rings. In theory, even the worst of armors, as they're dubbed by the community, can do rather well. The difference is, when it comes to S-tier armors, they tend to... You'll probably get to Greater Rift... In solo, you'll probably get to Greater Rift 120 to 130 when they're perfectly optimized, where you have your gems augmented in all those armor set pieces to like 70, 80, primarily 90 and higher. You'll probably be able to cap at like doing Greater Rift 120, which is good for solo. 150 solo... I've seen Grimscythe done it. I've been able to do it with my Whirlwind Barbarian, I should say. Relatively easy, not so much. Primarily, you're probably going to do those in groups, and even that's a chore. When it comes to A tier, usually they drop off about Greater Rift 100 to 110. Things that are referred to as B tier. Sometimes they can clear from like 85 to 80 relatively easy. Once you get to C, it's kind of an uphill battle. If you can even get a Greater Rift 70 cleared, you probably will do it, but it's not going to be at a very good time. D tier, you might as well not play it. Anything under D is like, don't even waste your breath, guys. Like, I hate to say it, like, I constantly use this example on the channel, but one of the worst armors in the game is the Firebird set for the Wizard. It uses meteors. Every time you take a death, you get resurrected. The problem with Greater Rifts is you don't want to die, because if you die, you kind of lose time. And if you lose time, you have a chance of not completing the Greater Rift. And if you lose time in Greater Rifts and you're trying to go for leaderboard placement, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. The Firebird is a set where it's based on you need to die to be able to do well with it, which is pretty much counterintuitive to what Greater Rift grinding does for leaderboard placement and whatnot. So that's why it's like an F tier armor. I've been saying I always use it as the best example of the worst armor in the game to possibly use. I've been saying for many, many months already on the channel that they need to buff Firebird, maybe even rework how it works, and get it to be better. Right now, this is a Greater Rift 80. In theory, we're looking to get anywhere between a 4 to 5 minute clear time is optimal. Even if we do 6, it's perfectly fine, because it's allowing us to augment some of our gems to higher. Because keep in mind, once you get to your gems that are legendary, that are actually in your armor, at level 90 cap, where they no longer will give you extra power, they won't increase their percentage in what they do, which is usually why people always say about level 100 is where you really want to augment a gem. But if you're augmenting gems at level 100, your armor better be really high optimized already, so that you do Greater Rift 85, 90, and 100s between 4 to 5 minutes for the most optimal. And that's a very, very long journey. Something that rarely happens in seasonal journeys, but very, very possible with this particular armor set. I wish I could give you more tips about this, but it really comes down to the 3 things you're going to do with it. Strafe around the screen. Keep strafing. If you're running low on hatred, make sure your vengeance is up, which is when you're glowing blue. and fire some hungering arrows. The amount of hungering arrows that you fire are going to build up your hatred really, really fast, so then you could just spin around again. And case in point here, I ran out of hatred because I was strafing too much. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm just going to use Vengeance to procure some, as you see here, and then I start strafing again around the screen, taking out things at fast, trying to find... This is not particularly the best dungeon layout for a speedrun, but, you know, you don't get to choose that when you play Diablo. Everything is procedurally generated, although most dungeons kind of have a layout, and yet still, after so much Diablo 3, I still forget where the exits are, even when I played through some of these dungeons quite a bit of times. So, as you can see, just literally spin to win. So, really, this is your starter set. I'm only going to do this Greater Rift. After this Greater Rift, we are pretty much done for the day, because it's just very simple things. Spin. Make sure your Vengeance is one of the things you cast. Spin again. It will automatically cast Vengeance for you. If you're running low on hatred, shoot a couple of hungering arrows, which is your primary attack. While you're in Vengeance, you'll build up your hatred within a couple of seconds to at least halfway. Start spinning again, and win. This is literally all it does. This is really, really good for Paragon farming when you're at high Greater Rifts also, because of the amount of massacre bonuses that you can procure with great and relative ease. So that is definitely something to look out for. Speaking of things I have to look out for, I have to watch out for those explosions. That is one thing you have to be careful of when you're playing Gears of Dreadlands Demon Hunter. If you get too aggressive and you destroy too many mobs, and you're too close to elite packs, they will explode, and you could be caught in the explosion and die. Alright, let me start spinning around here, and I take care of the Rift Guardian. I don't remember if I even took a death here. We'll basically find out. That's how fast this went. Alright, let's pick this up. Let's look. No, I did not take any deaths, and this was Greater Rift 80. Very optimal run right now, guys, despite that the dungeon layout was terrible. Those free gems are the free gems that you're always going to want to use for this particular armor set. They will do well for you. Simplicity, Strength you can pretty much put in when your Bane of the Powerful is no longer doing any sort of major damage for you. Let's see. Alright, that was a 4-minute clear time on Greater Rift 80. That's going to do it for today's Diablo video. Make sure to give us a like and subscribe.